Josh, glad to see you. How have things been outside? You've been staying pretty busy.
Yeah, I've never really had much of a lack for being busy. With all the New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff that me and Jim Ross have been doing, traveling back and forth all around the world, and just recently being in Japan with Victor Henry and Alyssa Garcia, both winning by knockout in Deep 85, and then my amateurs just going on a tear in the local circuit in California as well.
Yeah, someone would ask how a normal person could possibly find the time to do all the things that you do.
Well, I'm clearly not normal. I have always considered myself to be some sort of a derelict, weirdo, freaking cast-off. So I don't even think I would. You could say like, oh, they broke the mold after they made you. I think the mold was defective when it was poured, so they didn't really have a choice.
So when this approach, when Sakuraba came to you, or when the idea of Quintet came to you, what was the biggest part that really interested you to make you want to take part in this?
Oh, I thought one day I could be in the second floor of the PI talking to reporters, and there was no way I could pass that opportunity. It's the kind of thing that, it's the kind of dreams that people keep really deep inside themselves, so deep that they don't even know that they've been repressing it their whole life. And then one day you've won world championships, and you've been wheeling, dealing, kiss-stealing, the whole nine. And you realize what's been missing from your life all along has been this moment right here.
I'm glad we can help out.
Yeah, even the doors opening and closing behind me, that was part of it. That's in my dreams.
So Sakuraba really a prop in this dream of yours?
For sure. Although it's nice to see him in 3 dimensions in real life versus the way I see him in my dream as like a living, sentient cardboard cutout. But we have a great product. We have great athletes, and I think part of what makes us so fantastic, and everyone involved in it, not just myself and Sakuraba and Tokoro and everyone, but we have the right spirit towards it, and we're aiming to put together a fantastic show of athletic performance, but at the same time, a show, an event, something that's going to make people enjoy it, watching live at home, and be envious that they weren't there in the arena to see it live. And maybe somehow, some way, we'd hold enough of these, a drinking game will even break out of this whole thing, and we can be responsible for destroyed livers as well as arms and legs.
What would be the ideal number if it could get to that point? How many events would you like to see happen a year?
1,000,005 with a paycheck attached to me every single time, whether I compete or not, or I'm dead, and just my ghost is getting ghost money that he can spend on all that internet cash.
That would be a dream.
It would be something. I wouldn't even bother coming back and rattling change and telling people how their life was all screwed up and how Christmas is whacked the way you're running it. No, forget it, man. Too busy living the high life, eating ghost ribs.
So what was your thought when did Sakuraba come to you personally?
It was a coordination between myself, my agent in Japan, Hybrid Fighters, Mr. Tanigawa, and everyone getting, Yanagisawa, sorry. Everyone getting together and creating this whole concept. And putting our heads putting our heads together, figuring this whole thing out, and figuring, I think this is a solid plan. And Sakuraba spearheaded this whole thing, and he wanted me to be a part of it. And so I said, whatever you need to do, man, I got your back. And I'll try to do what I can to make this as successful as it can be.
Any ideas that particularly came from you that you advised on the rules?
Well, this right here, this is my personal. After this, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to find another form of inspiration to compete at my best. I really am.
Sakuraba just said he was thinking about instituting singlets for the whole team. Would you be opposed to that, or did you have a wardrobe of your own in mind?
I insist on it. I want the old school style singlets, the freestyle Greco ones, the with the open cuts here, yeah. Just like back in the day. Hey man, Urijah wore them, I wore them. It's a deal. Live with it. It's a lot of sexiness, but don't hate the player.
Well, Sakuraba already kind of hinted at who the complete team would be, although it's not complete yet. So just kind of putting you on the spot, if you could take yourself out of it and make your own fantasy team for Quintet with alive or dead grapplers of any time, who would you put? Maybe fill in with your favorite grapplers to stop putting you on the spot here, but.
That's pretty easy. Well, Sakuraba, Volkan, Alexander Karelin, Carl Gotch, and Billy Robinson.
So speaking of, you saw Urijah over there. Have you been sizing him up? Should he happen to make it through and you be the next guy in?
I don't think be a waste of time to size him up.
Fair enough.
Small guy joke. Nah, it's I've known Urijah for forever. I mean, between him and his dad, just knowing those guys and just having them being in communication with people like that, it's just, I'm really cool. I'm really glad, and I think it's great to see Urijah involved with this, especially with all he's built with Team Alpha Male. I want to see him in the grappling environment. There are grappling matches out there with Urijah in him, but he's a highly talented athlete. He's still on the mats all the time, so what he can show out there is we're gonna have to wait and see. But I don't doubt that it's going to be exciting and it's going to make the crowd come alive. So I'm stoked that a guy as solid as him could be a part of this.
Speaking of teams, you see what he's been able to build. When you look back on your career and all the great things you've done, are you more proud of what you're able to do now with fighters that you're bringing up, or what that you've been able to accomplish yourself so far in your own fighting career? I
don't weigh them in the same category. They're not. There is only a modicum of relation. My accomplishments for my team, if you want to put it that way, are it's part me, but it's them. So I'm guiding them to their best selves, their best efforts and best capabilities. They do the work. I give the guidelines. I'm there to, smack them in the face or lift them on my shoulders, whatever is needed, pat them on the back or kick them in the butt. They ultimately have to make the choices to be great. If they want to be strong, they'll choose to be strong. If they want to be weak, they will choose to be weak. It is always a choice, whether or not they are actually great fighters or not. That's not even the results are not factored into this. It's a matter of who you were when you started and who did you get to by the end of it, and how did you get there? What did you do to get to that point? You can get to one point and essentially you took every lazy shortcut you could possibly do. You avoided the struggle and the suffering of putting the effort in that was most needed to put yourself at your best. And so you resigned to be at best mediocre. You were a coward. So those that were not that talented, that strove and earned every inch that they ever gained, and they only leave with a 50-50 record, so what? What they've done doesn't stop or end there. It moves on with everything else that they do in life. And that is the true value of doing all of this.
What would you say, there's many factors and parts to becoming a great MMA fighter. What would you say is the essential ingredient that maybe is the hardest one or the elusive for fighters to obtain to make them great?
Well, I would say the most difficult part is contracting this really rare form of ringworm that actually becomes symbiotically engaged into your central nervous system and allows you to punch harder and move faster and think quicker. Yeah, that one. It's really hard to find.
Josh, you've obviously trained helped build a lot of fighters, throughout the years. Is that obviously something that helps you no matter what you do, from grappling to a team aspect? But is that something you are still doing right now, or is this kind of a good excuse to kind of gear back and getting into a competition for yourself?
No, it's something that I love it. Japanese is a great language for yelling. I would say the equal to, or maybe even arguably better than German for yelling. That of my Deutschlanders, I've started this process with them. Can't end it. So that's going to be continuous, and I have a great support group around me. People like Fergus McTaggart out of Brea Wrestling, and then Chad George and CMMA have been, where we're all working together. It is it takes a village idea, and these people are all on board and doing their best to be a part of this group that is continuing to support and build these athletes. Sakuraba too, and for me, the main thing is coaching does help me. It does help me in my own preparation and my own understanding of martial arts. But ultimately, the thing that is most difficult is for me to find a place with not only potentially, people of size possibly, but people of competence. That's not easy for me to find at all. People that I can get out there and get stuck in on the mats with and get good hard work out of. It's not just me. I'm not trying to be cocky about it or anything, but it's just not something I can't just go anywhere and find that. So that's always a difficult task, and I do my best to make up for it.
Will this format be easier in that sense, where you're not preparing for a specific body type or person, or do you have specific plans how you want to train for this?
No, I mean, conditioning is going to be as usual. As Carl Gotch says, conditioning is your greatest hold, and it will hold true here, especially if I perform the way I expect to, which is going to be win, and then win, and then win, and then continue to win. With Urijah's team, I have a possibility of 2 different heavyweights that I could meet, which would give me a nice, good full 8 minutes out there, or put me in a war for 8 minutes, either or. But chasing a guy down for 4 can be really difficult, and most of the guys I think I'll meet on the mat are going to be within that weight difference. That 4-minute match is going to be something that I'll have to unlock while they're using it probably to stall me out. And depending on, of course, and that also depends on the team format, right? So if it's the last guy on their team, or they're behind, maybe that guy's not. He's like, well, I can't afford to have a draw with Josh just to eliminate him. I have to win this match. That being said, makes it an easier job for me in that case, but a lot of variables.
It's $1 million question. It's been almost 2 years since
Who's paying?
MMA.
The symbiotic worm.
When are you going to be back in the ring fighting MMA?
When I sort out the schedule for next year and carve that space out with the right place. Simple as that. It's just a matter of when. It's not a why. Working on it.
So any promotions that you're leaning towards that you can say?
I did receive a very mysterious letter in the mail the other day about an island and a secret location that they would fly us to Hong Kong first, and then they would take us by private charter boat out to this island. Yeah, they said that they've held tournaments there before, and it sounds familiar.
Any splits involved?
No. In this one, I just hope I don't end up in a room full of mirrors.
Right.
But if I could go, it would be, it'd be pretty fantastic. I hear that at its best, they treat people really, really, really fantastically, and they love to express their gratitude.
Do you still have the symbiotic worm within you to continue in MMA?
I wouldn't want to talk about that. I don't know if that's USADA legal. Super ringworm.
Are we going to see you in a pro wrestling ring again, or are you pretty much a commentator at this point?
Oh, I really want to get back in the pro wrestling ring as well, and I'm trying to find an opportunity to wrestle Dan Barry before he fully calls it retirement this year from wrestling. So. And you know what? I've been talking to some other folks about some other pro wrestling projects. So I'm hoping and expecting to be in the professional wrestling ring, not just this year, but next year as well.
Are you surprised to see how big New Japan's blown up over here?
No, I knew that it had that kind of thing that would translate to this new audience, and it is a new audience. I don't care how many diehard, New Japan World, when it was only in Japanese, guys are out there. Unfortunately, you weren't enough, and that's not your fault. And it's just the way it is. But by putting it on Access, having myself in Marl, and having myself in JR, it pushed it to a much bigger market. A lot of people that had never seen this product before. And we started in there with Okada's first title reign, and then it's gotten all the way to where we're basically about a month out, or a little less than, from every single show. And I love being able to bring the New Japan product to a broad English-speaking audience. So I only see more potential for growth. I think it needs to be managed in how we expand. It's really important not to overstretch yourself, overextend your ability to keep up, or to even, we don't even need to gamble too much in terms of taking too big of a leap. I think it's best to play it smart and slower, and I think the product will take care of itself.